All right, guys, we're excited to have Coach John Shoop here this hour. He's got a wealth of experience from the NFL, college, all over the country, all over the world. He's been in Munich recently, was a head coach there. So just does an outstanding job with the passing game. If you ever heard him talk or clinic before, I think you guys are in for a treat. So, Coach, thanks on behalf of Lawrence First and Goal for taking the time to put this together and present.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here for sure. I have until about 10:45 Eastern time, as I understand. And so what I wanted to talk about is progression reads for the quarterback and kind of how you talk to the quarterback. I wonder if, you've ever had a quarterback who's a little bit paralyzed by paralysis by analysis, or comes off the field with a million questions. This is one way to maybe kind of clean things up, have your quarterback play faster and be more decisive. These are kind of things that we're going to talk about here. And I believe with all my heart, if a quarterback is decisive and accurate, you got a pretty good chance to have high level play at that position. And so think of quarterbacking a little bit like being a batter in baseball. If you're facing a pitcher like Pedro Martinez, who, at the turn of the century, this guy was throwing 100 miles per hour, or Nolan Ryan, or Orlandis Chapman. You pick your fastball pitcher. When you're in the batter's box, they always tell the batters, get ready for that fastball. Be prepared as if every pitch is going to be that fastball, and then react to an off-speed pitch, be it the curveball or a changeup. And so your action as a batter has to be, this is going to be a belt-high fastball. If it's not a belt-high fastball, then you as the batter have to react. And if you go into the batter's box against a guy like Pedro Martinez and just wonder, hey, I wonder what he's going to throw and I'm just going to hit it, the ball's going to be in the catcher's mitt before you realize it. So your plan A is there's going to be a belt-high fastball right down the middle of the plate, and I'm going to drive it up the middle. Think of quarterbacking a little bit like that. In progression reads, we're going to see there's always a 1, 2, 3, a 1, 2, 3. But I want you to think of it a little bit different. Progression reads, you're going to kind of go 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2 to 3. Or progression reads, you're going to go 1, hang on it, give it a chance, 1, 2 to 3. But there's always going to be 3 guys in the progression read. 1, 2, 3. But think of it as 1 to 2 to 3. Or 1, 2 to 3. And what that means is, number 1 is always that belt-high fastball. That's your action. As you're sitting in the pocket, you think that the play caller is called the perfect play, and everything in your mind, body, spirit is getting set to throw the ball to number 1 in the progression. It's your action. It's Pedro's belt-high fastball. And then if that guy's covered or you don't have a passing window, then you hold up and react. You hit that curveball to right field. Or you may have to even re-react and hit that, changeup up the middle. And so think of progression reads as having an action, a reaction, and then a re-reaction. But if you don't have an action as a quarterback, I think you're going to play slow. So think about this. There's a lot of great schemes out there where you're reading a defender. If that defender does this, you do this. If that defender does this, you do this. I look at it a little bit differently. I want you to go up to the line of scrimmage and think, I'm doing this. I'm doing this unless I can't. If I can't take my initial action, then I'll react. Otherwise, the fastball is going to be in the catcher's mitt. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I think it will as we continue through here. Now, when I teach defenses and coverages, generally, I say there's 8 areas that the defense has to cover. There's 8 areas. A defense has to cover a hook area, which is a 12-yard box, 12 yards deep, and it's the tackle box, 12 yards deep. They have to cover a curl area, strong and weak. And definitely, if you're on the hash, a curl area to the big field, that's from the hook area to the numbers. The curl area to the big field will be a lot bigger than a curl area into the boundary. And they have to cover a flat from the numbers to the sidelines, into the boundary, and to the field. And so a defense has to cover 5 underneath areas. And then there's 3 deep areas, a deep third, a deep third, and a deep third. Now, within those deep thirds, there's that 18 to 22 yard turkey hole, honey hole, whatever you call it, when you get half defenders on both sides of the ball. And then there's that seam, 18 to 22 yards as well, kind of between deep third defenders. But there's, generally speaking, 8 areas of the field that a defense has to cover. Here's the trick. If a defense rushes 4 guys, then they only have 7 to cover those 8 areas. And I always tell quarterbacks that as long as we're getting a 4-man rush, I'll look you in the eye and think, I think this concept can get a guy open. The toughest thing for me throughout my 30-year career, from the NFL to college to high school to international, has been when I get a 3-man rush. Those 3-man rushes, it's not the 3-man rush that worries me, it's the 8-man drop that worries me. There's not as many windows in there. And sometimes you can't tell your quarterback, yet I have more trouble directing his eyes. So there's 8 areas to defend. As long as there's 4 guys rushing, there's only going to be 7 guys defending those 8 areas. And if our quarterback is playing fast, if our quarterback is playing decisively, if our quarterback is accurate, I'll look him in the eye and say, I expect you to throw a completion here. So let's start to see how we can attack certain areas. And really, the area that we're going to spend time attacking today, we're going to just learn a concept. Every one of you know the concept. We're going to talk about the drive concept, but you may hear it in a different way than you ever heard it before. And I wonder if it'll just maybe get you thinking. So we're going to spend time in this hook area today. But before we do, let's talk about the triangle offense. So this is a man named Tex Winter right here. Tex Winter was always Phil Jackson's right-hand man at the Chicago Bulls and then later at the LA Lakers. And Tex Winter developed, he didn't invent it, but he really developed the triangle offense. So again, let's think about the 11 players now on offense. I'm not a mathematician, but there's 5 offensive linemen that are ineligible. There's a quarterback. He makes 6. So that means there's 5 other guys that can get open. And the triangle offense that Tex Winter ran with Kobe Bryant and with Michael Jordan is really, are you ready for this? A version of the triangle offense that a guy named Bill Walsh ran when he started with the Cincinnati Bengals and then went on to the San Francisco 49ers. And that a triangle offense is, there's always going to be a 1-2-3. There's always going to be a 1-2-3. And again, we talk in terms of 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 to 3, or 1-1, 1, 2 to 3. But there's always going to be a 3-man game and then 2 other guys. and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but the triangle offense in basketball is very similar to the West Coast offense in football. And so we're going to talk about the drive principle, drive, D-R-I-V-E, and it's going to be in the hook area. And the drive principle is there's going to be a shallow route and a basic cross route. And drive means that the shallow and the basic cross come from the same side. They come from the same side. They're going in the same direction. You know, there's a lot of times when you're getting in and out coverage, one of the mantras in the history of football from day one is when you get in and out coverage, send guys in the same direction. This is clearly a good man beater to get an athlete the ball, running. But we're going to talk about this triangle within the hook area. And this triangle within the hook area is going to be a 1 to 2, 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 1 to 2. And what we're going to try to do is divide this hook area in half. The shallow route runner is going to have one half of the hook area. The hook route runner is going to have the other half of the hook area. Let me be very clear. A drive route is not a vertical stretch. It's a lateral stretch. We're trying to find, we're trying to find windows, and this is the first window that the quarterback's reading. 1. And this basic cross has to be behind him as 2. And think of that as 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 2, 3 on the check down just outside that hook area, just outside that hook area. This drive concept really became popularized in the triangle offense that we know as the West Coast offense. Joe Montana mastered really what we're about to talk about here. And then Steve Young came and took it even to another level. It helped that they had guys like Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Brett Jones at tight end, Tim Rathman at the fullback spot. Roger Craig was amazing. That helped. But the triangle offense, we're going to see how all these triangles in the drive concept work. And then we're going to see how guys like Rich Gannon and Drew Brees took this same concept even to another level. So let's start, okay? In the West Coast offense, the key to the West Coast offense is you teach concepts. You don't teach plays, you teach concepts. And the concept that we're learning today is the drive concept. The hardest part about the West Coast offense, the hardest part, and it's not even close, is learning the motion shifts and formations. This concept, this play, these plays that we're going to be looking at right now, you can identify these exact same plays when you watch the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy today under Kyle Shanahan. When you watch Matt Stafford at the LA Rams, Jared Goff with the Detroit Lions. They're using these exact same concepts and teaching them generally the exact same way. The hardest part in any one of those offenses is learning the formations, motions, and shifts. Once you get that, the principles remain the same. So let's talk. Let's go strong right, Z short, 772 Z drive. Say we're in 21 personnel. Okay, there's your tailback, there's a fullback, there's a flanker, there's the Y, there's an X. The drive principle tells us that the shallow route and the basic are coming from the same side. For instance, a shallow cross tells us the shallow and basic come from the other side. Different concept, different concept. And so the shallow route, let's talk about this route. He's going to line up in a flank split. Some coaches will go crazy about splits. I don't go very crazy about splits. I am adamant about receivers hitting their windows. And in fact, I encourage receivers sometimes to play with your split a little bit. If I don't have a read on it, I doubt that the defense will have a read on it. What's most important is that we get that shallow route right on the back half to the edge of that hook area as the quarterback finishes his drop. And so this shallow route is going to be a 4 to 6 yard route. He can, if it's man-to-man, he can push up just a little bit and then zoom, come flying flat across. If it's man, if he identifies man-to-man, he's going to keep running. Parallel to the line of scrimmage, 4 to 6 yards, shallower is better than deeper. If it's zone, he's going to sit right on the edge of that hook area. We say kind of sit over around the backside tackle, but that's his half of that box. Remember, we're dividing that box in half. And if it's man, he stays on the move. If it's zone, he sits. Now, how does the quarterback know whether he reads man or zone? He's really actually not even reading man or zone. He's reading, is there green grass out here? That is there nobody out here? Is there green grass? Can I stay on the move? Or is there a defender sitting out here that is going to make me sit? That's really what he's reading. And so that driver, the shallow route runner, has to make his decision by the time he crosses the center. It's more important to be decisive than it is right. We've hit guys who sat versus man-to-man. We've hit guys who've stayed on the move versus zone. It's more important to be decisive than right. But if you read it as zone, you have to make your decision by the time you cross the center and you're going to sit in that tackle box. If you read it as green grass, you're going to look to the quarterback. And we tell the quarterback, if he's looking, he's booking. Now, that you have to be coming open in this area as the quarterback finishes his drop, which is a quick 7-step drop from under center. I often want everybody to hear the sound of the drop. The quarterback really moves his feet fast. And that's about the timing that Z has to come open. So it's going to be pretty quick. Now, the basic cross is the tight end. And in this picture, the basic cross will go first, and the tight end will come right off of his butt, maybe getting a little pick off of him. The tight end has got to push vertical into 10 to 12 yards, and now he's running an in route on that half, on his half of the hook area. A really, really big coaching point that we talk about with this basic cross, this is called a basic cross, is the basic cross cannot lose his line. What does that mean? You can't lose your line in that if this is the Y's original alignment, right? You draw a line north and south from his original alignment. He cannot get knocked inside that alignment, because that'll shrink the hole, because he only has this side of the hook area to get open. And so we often tell the basic cross route runner to maybe seam or spray outside a little bit before you push vertical. Get on a straight stem, and then the quarterback simply reads 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2, off of a quick 7-step drop. 1 to 2. 1 to 2. See them both kind of almost simultaneously. Now, one of the things that I really like about this version of drive that we're talking about here today is that it's what we call a 4-strong drive. What do I mean when I say 4-strong drive? I mean there's 4 receivers coming strong and there's only 1 receiver weak, okay? When there's 4 receivers going strong, the H is going to come outside everybody, push vertical about 8 to 10 yards, and then run a corner route, okay? And we call this the 4-strong chicken claw, the 4-strong chicken claw, because there's 3 guys that are kind of expanding in that area right there. And the protection receiver, in this case, the tailback, we're not going to talk about, 772 protection, but it's basically a slide protection where the line's going left. He's checking Mike to Sam. If nobody comes, he's going to sit right in that chicken claw. And I'm here to tell you, when a quarterback goes 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, if it's zone coverage and this tailback gets out, there is so much meat on that bone. In fact, in my opinion, in my experience, this has been better than a lot of slow screens to the tailback because the defensive linemen don't recognize it as a screen. It's a good play from about the 15-yard line, because that pocket right there, where that tailback opens, is he's got an automatic 8 to 10 yards before anybody even touches him. He's often uncovered. So he's a big part of that triangle. And there's your triangle. Now, I know everybody's wondering, what's this given mean? What's this alert mean? We're going to get to it, but I want you to think back to that Tex Winter, basketball, where there's 5 players, right? There's 5 players. And 3 of the players are playing a 3-man game. Michael Jordan's playing a 3-man game with Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. And Steve Kerr and whoever else was on the team is just sitting outside there on the edge behind the 3-point line if it happens to pop open. We're going to get to those guys, but the concept is the triangle. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, the key in a West Coast offense is just tweaking the formations, but keeping the concepts the same. We're learning the drive concept. Let's go Y dance to strong right, Z short, 772. No, Y dance to strong right, no Z short. The Z's already tight. Y dance to strong right, 772 Z drive. You can see that these areas are all in the exact same place. So we may have 4 drives in the game plan. I remember in 2001, I was with the Chicago Bears. We ran 4 strong drive 46 times in the season from 44 different formations. And so the quarterback's going to read 1-2, 1-2 to 3 to complete that triangle, to 3 to complete that triangle. Now, you're going to see Joe Montana, Steve Young, they took it to another level. This X outside, if he is one-on-one, a quarterback is allowed to read that as a given. What's a given? It's a layup. It's a belt-high fastball. It's too good to turn down. I always say, I, as a coach, reserve the right to rip you a new a-hole if you take a given and it's incomplete. If you take a given and it's incomplete. And so if this guy's one-on-one, we put him on a quick 7-step route, which is an 18-yard comeback or cat route. You'll hear it in the West Coast offense. Pushes up 18 yards. If it's 2 cloud or man, he's going to convert it. He's going to convert it. And if the quarterback decides to read that given, he could make that number 1, which is he makes that his action. He makes that his action. And now his triangle becomes a 1-2, a 1-2. And you can see those 2 guys are almost right in the same line of vision for the quarterback. Don't think of it as mechanically as 1, 2, 3. Think of it as 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 to 3. And there's your triangle if the quarterback starts at the given. Now, how does he know whether to start at the given or not? That decision's made pre-snap. You do not make that decision during your drop. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the drop here in a second. That decision's made pre-snap. If you're right, if you're wrong, it doesn't matter. If you look out to that given, if you decide pre-snap, I'm going to take that given, and then the defense tricks you and they rotate, you're going to end up just getting off of it and reading 2 to 3 of that triangle ultimately. Ultimately, you'll read 2 to 3 of that triangle, maybe climb the pocket a little bit and find that chicken claw. So let's keep going. Let's go stem to west right slot, Z-Mo 772, Z drive. Again, think it. We're like in the Peanuts. The teacher's going Z drive. As soon as you hear Z drive, you know the concept. You know it. It's a shallow and basic coming from the same side. Quarterback's on a quick 7. From the shotgun, a quick 7 becomes a quick 5. In the shotgun, I always subtract 2. I will tell you why I think this is good from under center. But anyhow, so on this, when we're in a slot alignment, sometimes this can trigger an alert. And what that alert means is sometimes if it's man-to-man, especially down inside the tight red zone, we'll tell the quarterback that if you know it's man pre-snap, you could turn that into 1. You could turn that into 1. And then it's 2 to 3. That's now your triangle. You can't go 1 over here all the way back to here. It's more important to be decisive and accurate than it is right. A quarterback can make a mistake and be thinking the alert or thinking the given and still find a completion. This is really important. Don't ever argue with the completion on first or second down. If it's 3rd and 8 and the guy's hitting 3 yards or something like that, you can start having conversations. But quarterbacking is more about a body of work than it is any splash play. And what do I mean by that? Just banking completions, getting completions in your back pocket, finding completions. And it's more important to be decisive and accurate than it is right. And you'll never be wrong, never in the history of the drive concept if you decide I'm just working this triangle. This triangle can be good versus anything. If it's man-to-man, you may get a big one. Guys running away. Versus man-to-man, you always want 2 guys running in the same direction. If it's zone, just tell your quarterback you're going to have to work the cut a little bit. You know, it's not going to be a big play, but zones, in zone, there's going to be a completion in this triangle, even if you get to 3. And we used to say versus zones, the only thing we always ask the receivers in zones is the next play is first down. 1st and 10, get 10. Catch it, get north. Catch it, get north. Get 10. The next play is going to be first down. If it's man-to-man, sometimes the next play could be extra point, okay? So no matter where the quarterback starts. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the drop. Again, the formations are, we could sit here and have a whole talk about formations, but explode to box right, HPO 772Z drive. You see the buckets or these windows are all in the same spot. Z drive. Z drive. And so the quarterback's reading this triangle. This is one of the ways that, one of the important things that I think there is to coaching quarterbacks. Quarterbacks don't want to get their eyes to the window, that is number 1, until number 1's coming open. Have you ever played basketball where you get the basketball and you're wide open and you're staring at the rim for like a second and a half, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I looked at it too long. You're a much better shooter of the basketball when you get it, take a quick hitch, and look at the rim at the last second rather than staring at it. And so through 5 steps, remember that's your quick 7-step drop. Through 5 steps, the quarterback should be looking right down the middle of the field. His eyes keeping those safeties. If it's a middle safety, keep him playing a third. If it's 2 safeties, keep him playing halves. You want the linebackers to drop to their areas. And the quarterback doesn't get his eyes on that target until 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. His eyes don't go there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. His eyes don't drop until then. I think that's a little bit easier to do from under the center than it is gun. From the gun, you get it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's a quick 7-step drop from under center. The quarterback's eyes get there. And it's important when you're running these concepts that receivers come open as the quarterback's eyes get there. One of my pet peeves is when guys come wide open, but the quarterback's not looking at him yet. They come open at the wrong time. And so that's why the basic cross, it's important that he gets his depth. And it's always important that these guys hit those windows. And the quarterback will read 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2, step up, find your chicken claw. An alert could be down in the red zone if you know it's man-to-man, or if it's given, you could start that given out there and then make that your triangle, 1 to 2 to 3, okay? So let's keep going. Again, the formations are the only thing that change. So however you can possibly dream up getting guys to these windows of right on the edge of the hook area, kind of splitting that hook area, and then your chicken claw on a 4 strong. However you name it, however you draw it up, I'm all in. Do it. We used to have fun. The creative thing of the West Coast offense is inventing new formations. The concepts are always the same. And the quarterback will read and stem to south right HMO 772. This happens to be a Y drive. The Y runs the shallow, and now the Z is the next guy, so he's on the basic, and the H is on the corner. Now, a cat route from a tight split, if we bring the X into a tight split, turns into what we call a circus, which we're going to talk about here in a second. And a circus route gets through 3 lines. That is at least 15 yards deep, 5, 10, 15. Get at least through 3 lines and then speed cut out to about 22 to 25 yards. And a cat from a tight split becomes a circus. And the quarterback could read that 1, 2 to 3. If it's a given, it's a little bit harder to see a circus as a given, but we're going to see Jerry Rice used to run these with Rich Gannon and Steve Young quite a bit. So let's look. We understand the concept now. Don't teach your quarterback plays. Teach your quarterback concepts. Whether it's strong right, Z short, Y dance to strong right, stem to west right slot, Z mo, explode to box right, H peel, stem to south right, H mo. They're all the drive concept. And the quarterback on all of them is reading 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2 to 3. And in fact, I don't even give quarterbacks givens or alerts until they've proven that they can really bank completions in this triangle. Because this triangle, I'm telling you, is good versus everything if you run it right. Now, because I can't help myself, we see, and I've only got about 7 minutes, so I'm going to try to hustle. But this is a 4-strong drive. Okay, I hope that makes sense. It's hard sometimes for me to interact because I don't see people nodding or something like that, but this is a 4-strong drive. Now, we're going to see guys like Rich Gannon, who, for my money, is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the world, and Drew Brees took this drive principle and they took it to another level. And it was, Mark Trestman and John Gruden when they were at the Raiders, and Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael Jr. when they were at the Saints, kind of took that concept to another level, the next generation, so to speak. It's still a progression read. That simple. So let's look. These become what we call halo routes. So now it's 3-2 distribution, 3 to this side, 2 to this side. And what you're going to see is there's always going to be these spots in the same area. The quarterback's still going to be on a quick 7-step drop. And so let's go stem to south right, Z short, 772. Let's call X circus Z drive. Well, we kind of know what circus drive looks like. We know a drive. We know what the basic. We know what this a check. We call it a check D. It's no longer a chicken claw when it's not a 4 strong. But we gain this low portion out here. So on a halo route, it's called halo because the quarterback is going to read this high-low of 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2. And so as the quarterback drops back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at about 6, 7, his eyes are going to go out to 1. And if he can throw 1, he throws it. Well, is he reading the coverage? Is he? No. Okay, you're going to drop back on about 6, 7. Your eyes are going to go out there. You'll take a quick hitch, and if he's open, throw it. If he's not open, hold up like that fastball. No, and react down to here. And this is what we call a rail stop. And a rail stop is 6 yards deep, and he gets lost right on the sideline, about 2 to 3 yards from the sideline. He pretends like he's running a rail route, that is a go route, but he just stops at 6 yards. And the quarterback is reading 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2 to 3, coming into his picture. And now that's his triangle. It's like we're giving the quarterback the given. And the quarterback's reading that triangle right there. 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2 to 3. If it's zone coverage, I used to tell quarterbacks all the time, if it's zone coverage, I refuse to accept that there's not a completion somewhere in this halo concept. So let's look at another formation. Explode to box right close, H fly, 772, X circus, Z drive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the quarterback, making the safeties get deep, making the defense play their coverage. On 6, 7, your eyes drop and you go 1 to 2. Your action is to lay that ball out there in about a 25-yard window. If you hitch and you can't, you pull up and it's like that off-speed pitch. But that circus route is our action. That is our action. 1 to 2, 1 to 2, into 3. That's your triangle. And then you got a 4 to 5. And then you got a 4 to 5 if you're stepping up in the pocket. You got to know where those guys are. Again, this halo concept, the buckets, the routes are all in the exact same place. Hey to west right close, Z fly, 772, X circus, Z drive. 1 to 2 to 3. There's your triangle. 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2 to 3. There's your triangle right there. And as quarterback steps up, he may find these guys may come into his vision, but never underestimate throwing a completion. Okay, I've got about 3 minutes left here. I'm going to keep going. Yoda strong right flank, H fly, 772, X circus, Y drive. It doesn't matter the formation. Be as creative as you can possibly be. Do whatever you want to do. Come up with bananas right, nut muffin, bam. Okay? But just get to circus drive. If you get to circus drive, you got a chance for a big play versus man. Again, 2 guys going in the same direction. I should probably say something about that. When I say 2 guys going in the same direction, say you have 2 defensive backs that are trying to in and out this bunch set. Do you see it? Those 2 defensive backs are trying to in and out these guys. Well, the first guy outside takes the first one outside. He takes the first one inside on the switch release. Do you see it? So now you're running a circus route or a deep corner versus inside technique man-to-man. It's unbelievable right there. From the for what it's worth department, I always thought this was interesting as well. Tim Brown, who when he retired was the 2nd all-time leading receiver in the history of the NFL. Tim Brown, I had the privilege of being with him a year, and he used to always want to be this receiver, either the rail stop or the drive route runner in these concepts. he used to say, that's where all the completions are. Jerry Rice may get the home run. Could you imagine Jerry Rice and Tim Brown right there, running that switch release? Jerry Rice may get some of the home runs, but I want to bank catches. And he used to say, a wide receiver catching the ball in here among linebackers, those linebackers don't have a chance. It was him that said, I'm such a good athlete. If I catch a rail stop or if I catch a drive route versus zone, I'm going to guarantee the next play is a 1st and 10 call. And so, again, you take all of these routes now in this halo concept. You go stem to south right, Z short, explode to box right, H fly, hey to west right close, Z fly, yo to strong right, H fly. They're all, it's one concept. I refuse, when you look at that play sheet, on Sunday, and you see it looks like a 7 legal pads. All it is formations. In the West Coast offense, I got news for you. There's about 15 concepts. Now, there's an infinite number of formations. And in the NFL, I'd always try to have at least 4 formations per concept. Not that you'd get them all called in that game, but then you've practiced them. So if in this game, if this week I used stem to south right and I used explode to box right, well, we've been working on these 2 for 2 weeks. And so I add two more. Remember, your season as a coach is also a body of work, And so when you look at the drive principle or you look at the halo principle, here we see the drive principle. And again, you're just finding triangles. There's your drive triangle. It could be 4 strong, and this guy's a chicken claw. Here's your halo principle. On a halo principle, it's 3-2 distribution, and there's your triangle. There's always a triangle, and you're going to read that triangle 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2 to 3. You're not going to read coverage. In fact, I say this to quarterbacks all the time. In the NFL, you would be shocked that there's really not that much coverage read. Sometimes we say you got to know if it's middle field's open or closed. Sometimes we say you got to know if it's man or zone. But other than that, hell, I sometimes am watching film the next morning with a warm cup of coffee in my hand, rewinding it 8 times, and I still can't tell what the coverage is. And we can't ask guys to read defenders in milliseconds. What we can ask guys to do is, when your 7-step hits, is this guy open? If he is, throw it to him. That's your action. That's your action. Not even if he's open. You're dropping back thinking, I'm throwing that circus. I'm throwing that circus. I'm throwing that circus until I can't. I'm hitting that fastball. I'm hitting that fastball. I'm hitting that fastball until I can't. If you get nothing else out of this talk today, I hope that you think to yourself, if my quarterback plays with an action, and then reacts to other things, he'll play much faster. He'll be much more decisive. And a faster, decisive quarterback is, in my opinion, also more accurate. And there's going to be less of he said, she said when he comes to the sideline. Well, I thought that defender was. No. It's as simple as, was he open? 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2. And never argue with completions on 1st and 2nd down. Never argue with them. If you feel that circus came open and your quarterback banked a completion here for 10 yards, feel good about it. Endorse it. Think of quarterbacking as a body of work. What you really want your quarterback to do, in like the NFL, is check in at 32 of 36, not like 12 of 28 or something like that. This ain't about splash plays. This is about being an assist guy and getting the ball to players that are electric. I went about 3 minutes over, but I started about 3 minutes late with some technical difficulties. Deep appreciation to everybody for this opportunity to talk to you. And I'm not sure what I do now, but I hope that's okay. I think it's important to end on time. I guess I'm done.